From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is U.S. Farm Report.
Welcome to U.S. Farm Report this weekend. I'm Tyne Morgan, and here's what's in store over the next 60 minutes. From heartbreak to hope, the devastation caused by the Texas wildfires continues to grow.
We're all in the ranching business and sometimes give a hard time to farmers, but farming saved our lives here. The disc and the wheat field, I don't think these typical immediate.
But from the ashes came heartfelt donations from ranchers and farmers hundreds of miles away.
We kept loading trucks and kept sending them out there.
The winter that wasn't. That's the reality for those in the northern plains.
You know, there was guys putting fertilizer down in southeast North Dakota here a week ago. So it does look like right now this could be one of the first years in many years that we could be in the field in April.
How farmers in North Dakota are weathering 2024. And Caitlin Clark may be making headlines today, but this female athlete was perhaps the greatest female athlete of all time.
U.S. Farm Report, presented by Pioneer. What's next happens when experience meets expertise. Pioneer. What's next happens here.
Well, U.S. corn prices really needed some help this week in the form of a new supply and demand report from USDA. Many analysts really watching what USDA was going to do to Brazil. USDA cutting Brazil's soybean production numbers by 1 million metric tons. That was less than the trade expected. USDA didn't make any cuts to Brazil's corn. The agency also leaving Argentina's soybean production estimate unchanged, but raised Argentina's corn estimate by 1 million metric tons. USDA making no changes to the U.S. ending stocks figures except for wheat. USDA raising ending stocks for wheat due to lower exports. USDA did lower the global ending stocks estimate for corn, soybeans, and wheat. We'll get reaction coming up in our marketing roundtable. Well, another big story we're watching this weekend, recovery efforts following the wildfires in the Texas Panhandle. It will likely be a couple of weeks before all the damage can be tallied up, but officials in Texas say the cost of potentially the largest wildfire in not just Texas, but U.S. history will be massive. However, the cattle death losses should not have an impact on the cattle market or beef prices for consumers. Nearly 1.5 million acres of land in Texas has now been burned up by the wildfires. Early cost estimates are in the hundreds of millions of dollars. The pictures tell the story of the losses, with over 500 barns and houses and 7 grain and seed dealers destroyed. Plus, there's 120 miles of power lines down, lost pasture, and mounting livestock deaths.
We've got, 3,000 or 4,000 miles of fence. That's my estimate. That's not factual, but I'm pretty sure I'm pretty close. A mile of fence is $10,000. So you can figure that up. Just the loss in fences is astronomical. Those numbers will continue to grow, unfortunately.
Miller says water, hay, and feed are the most immediate need, with drop-off points throughout the state. And farmers and ranchers from across the country are answering that call for help. We'll have that story coming up later in the show. Bayer is putting off plans to possibly break the company apart for now. Reuters reporting Bayer will hold off on spinning off parts of the company for up to 3 years. CEO Bill Anderson on a media call saying, quote, "Our answer is not now, and this shouldn't be misunderstood as never," end quote. He called separation costs and capital gains taxes as reasons to delay. Last year, Anderson had said the company was looking at potentially spinning off the ag sciences business, but it's reported the company will now focus on issues such as debt and litigation. Well, will we see interest rate cuts this year? The Federal Reserve Chairman providing an update this week. Chair Jerome Powell reinforcing his belief before a House committee that the Fed will cut its key interest rate this year, but that it first wants to see more evidence that inflation is falling sustainably back to its 2% target.
The economy has made considerable progress toward these objectives over the past year. While inflation remains above the FOMC's objective of 2%, it has eased substantially, and the slowing in inflation has occurred without a significant increase in unemployment. As labor market tightness has eased and progress on inflation has continued, the risks to achieving our employment and inflation goals have been moving into better balance.
Powell did not express concern about the government's latest inflation data, which showed some uptick in prices in January. And take a look at this. Ag economists are growing more pessimistic about interest rate cuts this year. In the latest Ag Economist's monthly monitor, 44% said they are becoming more pessimistic about cuts in 2024. 37% responded they are growing more optimistic. And if rate cuts do happen this year, more than 40% of ag economists surveyed think it will be by no more than 1%. Just under 40% expect to see no change in 2024. Some signs of improvement in farmer sentiment, according to the latest Ag Economy Barometer from Purdue University and the CME Group. The monthly survey of farmers rising in February to a reading of 111. That's 5 points higher than in January, but still 14 points below where it was this time last year. The rise driven mainly due to producers being somewhat more optimistic about the future.
Once again, in this month's survey, we asked producers what their biggest concerns are for their farming operation in the upcoming year. And the top concern remains higher input costs, chosen by 34% of this month's respondents. But 28% of the respondents this month chose lower crop and/or livestock prices. That's up from 18% who chose that a year ago.
Something to note, the interest in leasing farmland for solar energy. The February survey asking farmers where they've discussed a solar energy project with a company in the last 6 months and for how much money. Take a look at the latest results there in brown, with 10% saying they had been approached in the last 6 months, and more than half, 56%, said they were offered a lease rate of $1,000 per acre or more. They're calling it Miracle March in California, a massive snowstorm made for brutal conditions, but it brought essential relief for farmers. We'll talk about it next.